Hello and welcome to your therapy session. Hello and welcome to the other side of the planet, which actually might be true for you.
You got me feeling a fight. You got me feeling a fight. Like how could I not think of you?
Hey, welcome back to the Bedside Table. I'm your host, Ellie Marie. This is episode 26, and I'm going to be doing something from what I've been learning from psychology. It's called automatic thinking. It's basically exactly what it sounds like. I'm going to be making a quick decision about what this podcast episode is going to be about, because I honestly have no idea. And if you're not new to the Bedside Table, if you're a regular visitor, what? If you've listened to the pod before, you know that sometimes we're a little unstructured and we're kind of like off the rails a bit. And that's what this episode is going to be. Hey, at least I'm giving you a heads up this time around. I don't know what this episode is going to be about. I'm just going to use my automatic thinking and make a quick decision. So I guess as soon as I lay down and put the microphone in front of my face, whatever comes out of my face is what the episode's going to be about. Thank you for being here for another episode of the Bedside Table. I greatly appreciate you and your existence. I'm feeling a type of way. I'm feeling a type of way this evening. It's going to be a good episode. It always is. But yeah, thank you for being here. Enjoy the episode. Bitch, what we gonna talk about today? Sorry, I'm referring to myself as bitch, not any of you. That's how I talk to myself. It's a term of endearment. You know, like when you refer to your friends, like bitch, it's a term of endearment, of course. It's like the term of like highest endearment too. That's not how I expected this episode to begin, but hello, welcome back to the Bedside Table. I know I already welcomed you in my introduction, but I don't know. Maybe you deserve like a little extra welcome today. I think so. Do you think you're deserving of an extra welcome? I think so. Okay. So my life's mantra right now has been, life is beautiful. And I maybe that comes off as like a little cheesy of just like, oh, life is so beautiful. But no, it's been in my head for weeks, if not months. Like it will just randomly pop into my mind of just like, I love my life. I actually have written down on my board because it just came to my brain one night and I was like, I still need to get my toilet fixed, which I still need to put in a work order for that. Anyway, I'm sorry. My toilet is gonna upset me if I try to speak while it's doing its dysfunctional thing. We're all a little dysfunctional sometimes. It's fine. Okay, thanks. Anyway, so I wrote down on my dry erase board, because I have a couple of dry erase boards. Right now, the Pomodoro technique is on one of them because I use that for school. But I also just really like that technique. There's this course that I started learning on Coursera. I'm pretty sure that's how you say it, but it's called Learning How to Learn. And I found it through a Reddit thread. And like I said, I warned you, this episode's just going to go all over the place. I have not finished the course, but I've gone through a lot of it and I've really enjoyed learning how to learn. And one of the things mentioned in that course is the Pomodoro technique, but also in one of my classes that I took for the summer semester, we also learned about the Pomodoro technique and I just really freaking like it. So that's written on one of my dry erase boards. And then I have another dry erase board that's just like little love notes to myself. And like I have a to-do list in the corner, which is usually a to-do list from like a week or two ago that I'll just, whenever I decide I want to make another to-do list or I've got things I need to do and I want to write them down instead of keep them in my brain, I'll just, update it, but it does not get updated every day, which is fine. But anyway, one of the things that I wrote on my little dry erase board that has my self-love notes is, how lucky am I that I get to be me? And I don't think that's exactly what it says. I don't even know. But basically that. How lucky am I that I get to be me? Because I was coming home. I think I was coming home from a night out or something, or I'd just come back. I had come back from doing something that put me in a really good mood. And I walked into my bathroom and I looked in the mirror and I just looked at myself. And that's what I heard on the inside. That was my inner dialogue in that moment, was how lucky am I that I get to be myself? And I looked at myself in the mirror and I was just like, bitch, yeah, like, fuck yeah. how fucking lucky am I that I literally get to be me and nobody else? Have you ever like genuinely thought in depth of what it would be like to be somebody other than yourself? When I do that now, when I think about being somebody else, like someone completely different, it terrifies me. I'm like, I wouldn't know who I am. Like, obviously, because I'd be somebody else. But the thought of being anybody else other than myself terrifies me. That's an interesting thing to think about. If you've never, I'm sure I'm not the only one who's thought about being someone else. And we probably think about that more often in our moments where we're low or we're not enjoying our life, or we do wish that we were different and that our lives were different. So we're like, if only I could be that person. But I think it's more like, if only I could be more like this person. Because I think the thought of being someone completely different, maybe it's just me, but I don't think it's just me. Like, that's really scary. Just not being me. Like, if I didn't have my body, what? If I didn't have my brain, huh? If I didn't have my soul, excuse me, I would be completely lost. Literally, I would have no idea who I am. So that played into the thought of like, how lucky am I that I get to be myself? But also I was in such a good mood when that thought came up. And sometimes these thoughts come up when I'm not in a good mood. I'll have thoughts it's like I'm giving myself a warm hug. It's me comforting me. And if you've been somebody who has like struggled to be nice to yourself, I'm raising my hand right now. If you've been someone who's struggled to be nice to yourself, maybe you'll understand the gravity of what it means when you just have an automatic thought that is nice about you. So when I have these thoughts that come up, especially when I'm in a low mood, when it's just like, I'll have a thought and it's just like, I love you. And I'm like, that one still blows me away whenever I hear myself. And I'm talking about, when I'm talking about this, I'm talking about my inner voice. I'm talking about my inner dialogue. We all have it. It's that little voice in our head that says shit to us. And mine has not been very nice to me for the majority of my life. But I made a conscious effort to work on that. I think I've talked about some of that in the pod. But I've put in a lot of work to learn how to be nice to me. And anytime it just pops up, when I just hear I love you within myself, oh my God, it like takes my breath away. I know it sounds like I'm just like, I'm like in love with myself, but like kinda. And I feel like I've earned the right to say that because I've worked really hard. And I'm really not trying to brag, but I'm just saying, like, when I hear me say that I love me, it's just like, it's like a warm hug. And it feels so, it doesn't feel like uncomfortable anymore, but it still just surprises me. I'm like, what? I'm like, okay, I must be doing the right things. I must be like moving in the right direction, because if I'm saying to myself that I love me, because I know how I've been to myself in the past, I know how mean I've been to myself. So if I'm in this moment saying, oh, I love myself, then the changes I've made and the things that I've done, I must be doing the right things. Yeah, that's one of the surprising things that pops up in my head sometimes. Is just I hear I love you and I'm just like, I'll like stop myself whatever I'm doing and I'm like, I love you, bitch. Again, term of endearment. But yeah, how lucky am I that I get to be myself? How do you feel? How do you feel about yourself? I know that's a big question. And I like doing this in my podcast episodes, especially the ones that go off the rails, where I just hit you with a question. Because if you haven't noticed by now, I really do hope that these episodes make you think about things. And I'm not trying to force you. Obviously, you're here on your own will. Like, I'm not, obviously you can choose to not watch this, but I really like asking those types of questions. Because throughout my like healing journey and my self-discovery, I know it sounds so cheesy. Even when I said it out loud, it sounds so cheesy, but it's true. Throughout the journey of the self that I've been exploring, these questions, I've been asked these questions because I've taken like little courses and stuff, and I've done like, they're not, I guess technically they're not little courses. I don't have to get into it, but like the things that I've done for my healing work, they've asked these questions. These questions come up a lot. It's just questions about you and like basically how you feel about you. So anyway, back to my question. I'm putting the spotlight on me. It's too much. No. This podcast is too much. No. But yeah, how do you feel about yourself? And I kind of want you to think about it a little bit. Like when I say that, are you like, I don't know. Just let me ask you again. How do you feel about yourself? Like, what comes up for you when I ask that? When you hear those words, what comes up for you? Like, what do you feel right now? How do you feel right now when I ask it? You may not feel nothing at all. You may be like, can we get on with the episode? Like, and we will, trust me. I'm improvising. So this is where I'm at right now. But I think it's an intriguing question. Because how often do we get asked, how do we feel about ourselves? Because I think a lot of where our life stands, I told you this episode's going to be off the rails. So if none of this makes sense, I'm sorry, but thank you for being here. I think a lot of where we stand sometimes is based off of like, let me see if I can make sense of this. I'm trying to make sense of this as it comes to me, but I think a lot of what we think about is like external. So it's like, what do people think about me? How do people feel about me? Am I making these people happy? Am I making my loved ones happy? Am I making my partner happy? Are my friends happy? Like we think a lot about the outside, I think. But like, when's the last time you asked yourself, how do I feel about me? How do I feel about my life? How do I feel about the choices I've been making? How do I feel about the thoughts that I've been having? How often do we ask ourselves questions about ourselves? Because if you grew up like me, it was a lot of don't be selfish, think about others, consider others. And I've brought this up in a podcast episode before, which I think it is important to consider others. But I think as much as we consider other people, we should be considering ourselves. And I don't think that's a selfish thing to do. And if you want to think of it as a selfish thing, don't think of selfish as like a bad word, because I don't think it is. I think you can be too selfish, just as you can be too considerate. We can turn into people pleasers. Heyo. But when's the last time you thought about like, what am I doing to please myself? How am I having fun? How am I enjoying my life? Because at the end of the day, it's your life, dude. And you're the only one living it. There may be other people involved in it and other things involved in it, of course. I feel like there always will be. But you're going to be the only constant for the rest of your life. Think about this. I've thought about this. You are going to be the only person in your life that's there 100% of the time. 100% of the time. And I know it's like, well, duh. But if you really think about that, that's kind of, sorry, I'm adjusting my microphone. That's kind of a crazy thing. To be like the only person who's going to experience 100% of me and 100% of my life in its entirety is me. So it's like, why the hell would I not consider what I think about myself and my life? Why would I not be thinking about me? I'm here 100% of the time for me. And again, I know that's kind of just like self-explanatory. Duh, of course you're always there for you. But then it like begs the question, like, again, when's the last time you asked yourself about yourself? You're there for you all the time. Ooh, I just had a nice thought. I think we like to run from ourselves. Do you like to run from yourself? Ooh, I think we do. Because think about it. You know how we like need a break from people because we're around them a lot? Even partners who are like so in love, like you need a break from your partner. You need a break from your friends. Like we all need our own space. We all need our own time away from each other, right? So do you think that's true about like ourselves? Do we need our own time away from ourselves? And to think like, okay, well, what does that look like? What is that like? What is it like getting away from ourselves? How do you get away from yourself? I'm so sorry. I have phlegm. Okay, I'm not going to do the gross phlegm thing. I fixed it. You don't have to endure that. You won't have to suffer. But yeah, do you like to run away from yourself a little bit? Because I mean, I'll be honest, I do. And I've been in situations where I get to pretend to be somebody else, or where I get to just kind of, not even necessarily pretending to be somebody else, but I get to put on a persona. I get to put on a face. And not particularly in a harmful way either. It's not like I'm trying to be like manipulative or coercive. It's just like I was a go-go dancer, and that involves like wearing a wig and putting on a costume and like being high energy and like being this version of myself that is me, but feels like a little bit outside of myself. And that's fun to do sometimes. Other times I think maybe we step outside of ourselves in ways that are not so fun. We become people that we don't want to be. And there are certain things and certain situations and certain people that might bring a version of you out that is outside of yourself in a way that you can recognize, hey, we don't like that. Sorry, I'm being very vague about that because that was just like that was a loose thread of a thought. But yeah, so what does getting away from ourselves look like? I think in my experience, I've spent a lot of time in my inner world. And sometimes I can become, I'm not at all trying to say this in a way that makes me seem like better than anybody else. I promise this is not the way I'm trying to come off. I'm just trying to explain it. I have been like too self-aware at times. Like there's a particular episode, I think it was 2 episodes back. Like I think it was called I Feel So Imperfect All the Time. I think I was in a moment of just being so self-aware of everything that I was doing. And that creates, for me, when I become too self-aware, I notice it when it creates this level of anxiety that makes it difficult to just like enjoy myself and to just exist. So when I enter into this period where I'm like too self-aware, when I enter into this inner state of being too self-aware, that's when I know like I've probably been spending a little too much time with myself in my inner world. Like I need to just kind of get out of myself a little bit, if that makes sense. So like, yeah. So when I talk about like getting away from yourself, I think that's one instance for me that I can say like, when I become too self-aware, I know that I need to spend some time away from myself. Like I need to spend some time away from thinking about everything about me and worrying about everything. This is going off the rails. I don't exactly know where it's going. And there's a fucking fly in my apartment. And I watched it fly in when I opened the door earlier. I watched it fucking fly in and I was like, you're going to die in here, buddy. You're going to die in here. I won't kill it, but they just never find their freaking way out. It's just like when they get into your car. I will really try and I'll try and get them out because I'm like, you're going to die in here. And I don't want them to die. Yeah. So anyway, redirecting once again, but going back to my question for you. After all of that hopefully made some sense to you, how do you feel about yourself? What goes on in your world? And how does it make you feel? And when I say your world, I mean like in here, on the inside. What goes on the inside? Are you aware of what goes on the inside? It's okay if you're not. I realized I posed that question. It may have came off in a way that was like, are you even aware? That's not at all what I meant. Just wanted to be clear. It's a genuine curiosity. I hope that I spark some curiosity within you. Because learning about yourself is like super cool. To put it lightly. It's a lot of other things too. It's difficult. Looking at ourselves is not always easy. Especially looking at the parts of ourselves that we don't like. But it's important to give recognition to those parts too. I think that's one of the biggest things that helped me when I started healing was just recognizing, okay, what are the parts of myself that I'm like actively on a day-to-day basis shunning from within me? Because they're still a part of me. And I am actively dismissing and neglecting them, just as I was conditioned and taught to do, of course, over time, growing up, bullies, all of the things that make us not like the things about ourselves. But at some point, it was just me not liking those parts of me. I didn't have my parents around anymore. I didn't have the bullies anymore. At some point, it was just me. I was the bully. I was my parents' voice in my head. Like, it was me, if that makes sense. At a certain point, I had to recognize no one else is making me hate these parts of myself anymore. It's just me. And that was a big thing for me because I was just like, like my biggest purpose in life that I've discovered throughout everything. And maybe it'll change and maybe I have no idea what I'm talking about, but like my biggest purpose, and I've written it down so many times everywhere and I've said it throughout my life, at least within the past 5 to 6-ish years, when I just started discovering what the fuck am I here for? What I've learned is that I want people to feel acknowledged, accepted, and loved. I want people to feel seen and heard. But most of all, just like loved. I just want people to be loved. Acknowledged, seen, and heard, like all of that comes first. It has to. We have to acknowledge people. But I want people to feel loved for who they are. So I like asking these questions because I like helping people see themselves. I want people to see themselves. Because, like I said, I think we run from ourselves a lot. And trust me, in my own way, I understand. In my own way, I understand why we run. why we avoid ourselves, why we distance ourselves from the parts of us that we don't like, why we neglect the parts of ourselves that we don't like, why we're mean to ourselves. In my own way, trust me, I understand. What the fuck is that noise? Oh, I think the fly got stuck. It literally sounded like something was like scratching a fucking bag, and it scared the fuck out of me. Even my cat freaked out. Sorry. Just had like a rush of terror go through my veins. I could not ignore it. I'm sorry. Yeah, no, I think the fly got stuck in a bag. But like, it's close to Halloween, okay? And like, I'm here by myself. And so I'm like, what the fuck is crawling out of my fucking bag right now? Okay, anyway. Yeah, no. It was just I realize now after listening to it for a bit, the fly just got stuck in something. Can you fucking stop? Oh my God. Oh, sorry. That's a fat ass fly. At first I was like, is that a bee? No, it's literally just a fat ass fly. Oh, bitch. Not term of endearment, bitch. Oh. My heart right now. I'm sorry. Had a little freak out on you. My bad. My bad, guys. What was I talking about? Oh, yeah. Sorry, just to get back into the mood. Yeah, okay. Sorry. But yeah, I understand in my own way why we run from ourselves and why it's hard to look at ourselves. Like, really fucking look at ourselves. Because it means we have to take accountability. And that's not an easy thing to do. It means we have to recognize those dirty, icky parts. But it's a really important thing to do, in my opinion. Because to be able to love yourself, I'm sorry, I'm going to be cheesy on you. To be able to love yourself and to come from a place of love within yourself to give to others, you have to first recognize and acknowledge yourself. And that means recognizing and acknowledging the parts of yourself that maybe you wish weren't there. The parts of yourself that maybe you wish were different. The parts of yourself that like you look back on and you're just like the experiences the experiences you've had and the choices you've made before, you look back and think like, oh God, ew. Why would I have ever done that? Why would I have said that? I'm so glad I'm not that person anymore. And those are completely valid thoughts to have too. It's completely valid to look at a past version of yourself and be like, I'm glad I'm not there anymore. But I'm kind of going to slip in like a gentle reminder here to just nudge you a little bit. If you feel up to it, to just like take some time sometimes to show those past versions of yourself some grace and compassion. Because I know that that's what I would have wanted for myself from somebody else. And there were people in my life around the times when I was being not so great. There were people in my life who did show me grace and compassion. And I may not have been able to accept it then, but I'm grateful for it now because I can look back on it and recognize that's kind of all I ever really wanted, was just, first of all, to be acknowledged, to be seen and to be heard, but to just be accepted as I was then, even if I wasn't great. So yeah, just a gentle reminder, those parts of you that you're really hard on yourself about, those versions of you that you look back on and like shit on, maybe like every now and then, if you can, just slip in a little love and acknowledgement and appreciation of just like, hey, you may have sucked, but thank you for helping me get through that hard time, because now I can be the version of myself that grew from that experience, that learned from that experience, that you had to go through, as in speaking to your younger self. But I never would have known how to get here had you not gone through all the shit and made those decisions and like fucked up. And so yeah, maybe thank those past versions of yourself for fucking up, for making those mistakes, for being a shithead. Because I don't think you'd be who you are today without that. And maybe you would be. Maybe you would have gotten here had you have, you know, I don't know. So, how do you feel about yourself? I'm going to leave you with that. And I hope you take a little time to think about it. And if not, hey, that's cool. I hope you enjoyed the episode anyway. Take it or leave it. Totally up to you. But yeah, how do you really feel about yourself?